When you buy a boat, there are two ways you can register it. One is with your local state and get a title. The other is through the U.S. Coast Guard, where you can document a boat. If it is a larger boat, we recommend that you do get the Coast Guard documentation because it tracks ownership history over the life of the boat, and it's recognized overseas as a valid registration. It does help when you go to sell the boat because, again, it tracks lien history, ownership history for that boat, and it's easy to show a clear title. If you choose to document the boat, there are some specific Coast Guard forms that you need to fill out and submit with the Coast Guard, and that form will also need to include a copy of your bill of sale. If there was a previous documentation, it should also include a copy of the previous owner's certificate of documentation. It will take a few weeks to get your certificate of documentation in your name, and it looks much like a title. If you don't want to do that yourself, you can hire, for a few $100s, a documentation agency that specializes in marine documentation, and they will do a title search for you. They will submit all the forms on your behalf. And if anything comes up, they will resolve any issues with the Coast Guard so that you end up with a clean title. If you buy a sailboat that includes a dinghy, and maybe the dinghy includes a trailer, you need to register with your state both the dinghy and the trailer separately. The Coast Guard will not document a dinghy or a trailer. It's purely done at the state. Coast Guard documentation you renew every year. If you choose to register a boat with your state, that's usually recommended for smaller boats, under 25 feet, for example. You will have to submit a bill of sale and an application with your state office, and they will ask you to pay sales tax, and they will give you numbers that you have to put on the bow of your boat. In some states, if you document a boat, they will also require that you register it. And that is how they obtain sales tax and excise tax going forward. So check your local state regulations as part of the closing process. No matter how you register the boat, you will need the paperwork on board. In the case of the Coast Guard, your documentation certificate will need to be on board. In the case of registering with the state, you will need your title on board the boat at all times. In case you get boarded, they will ask for your paperwork.